Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Inshallah, we'll walk through this whole workshop and we'll ask definitely about your expectations about this whole the thing what you see from the title and everything. But there'll be a little surprises in between. There'll be little U-turns in between. So normally there could be one possibility. I'm just giving a disclaimer that what you have perhaps have thought initially for coming here, you might not be getting that at the end of the day. Maybe, but definitely you might be getting some another thought process before you go from here, maybe, right? So this could be possible. Could be that you get what you exactly will think of. As well as said that the youth today is basically they're asking many questions, and the reason behind that is they're exposed to many things that we could ever think of. When we talk about the social media platforms, now you have so many of them as well that we even cannot sometimes count out that from where they can get all those information. There was a time when you and me were young, we might have those questions as well. We might have those questions, but the overall the environment is doing something for us that we have gone not to that level of skepticism or doubts and thought process. That we did not went through that mostly, right? But when we were giving the information, so we believe that okay, whatever our mothers have said, whatever fathers have said, or Dada Dadi has said, it's fine. And overall, the whole society was also following to some extent the same norms and same notions. So we kind of keep getting the similar side of things from the society as well, right? But my experience when I started doing this ESM with teachers, we thought of doing it for the students, keeping the students in mind, and it turned out to be that the teachers or the principals, educators themselves start coming up with different questions. Okay, first tell us. It's my question as well. Forget about the kids, but what should I do now? And then literally, I've seen a few cases that some of the people start crying. What should I do now with my kid? My kid is doing exercising, and now I feel that I was the problem. So I need to correct myself first, then I should start correcting my child. And alhamdulillah, so these type of things are kept on going on. But since it's a parenting session and it's a very, it's not the whole course right now, it was even very difficult to confine all that information into this session. It really took a lot of time. How should I arrange different slides? So I picked some slides from different modules just to give you the flavor. And initially, in the parenting session, we'll talk a little bit about the parenting, but it's not a parenting workshop where I'm going to tell you what is parenting, right? So it's not about type of parentings and methodologies of parenting. It's just there just to connect that as a parent or as an educator, we have dealing with the child. So we just have that perspective first as a role and responsibility that it is our task. We need to get serious about this thing. We need to realize about what's coming up. Then whatever can be done can be possible. Unless if I am not realizing it, it's not possible whatever techniques you come up with. So for that purpose, there's a few slides or things are there for regarding parenting as well. So as the title was there, so what is your, just quick one or two reviews, that what are your expectations, when you came here with this, looking at the title, what are the expectations in your mind? So I just need to know quick 2 to 3 answers so that we can go towards our main sites.
On the parenting guide, actually, thought about how we need to do parenting overall with the children and answer the critical questions.
Okay.
In this case, what are the very hot topics that are going on these days, and what are the right kind of answers to give to our children?
Okay. One or two more from sister side.
I think trying to understand the teenager mindset in this day and age.
Okay.
So the title says questions that the youth ask. I came here I wanted to ask you a question. What about the teenagers who stop talking to parents, who stop asking questions? What about them?
Okay, it's in it, inshallah. Okay, right. So as far as I've taken the answers, there was one or two things that I picked it up that you were kind of thinking that to what answers we should give, and there was one thing that what mindset which is required, right? And some said that what the techniques required. Yeah, so it is a combination of all these things: the mindset, the technique, and the reasons and causes. So these are, but when you were to understand one thing, there's you will get to know about as the session goes on. So I'll keep highlighting this part so that you can always relate it later on. When we say that what answers we give to the questions they ask, right? Keep this thing in mind because we're going to revolve around this a lot, right? Are we really going to answer? Or are we really going to get from this session that after this session we know what to answer, right? So maybe that philosophy needs to be addressed over here, right? So anyhow, so let's begin. So what challenges, I ask you one or two again, what challenges do we face today as a parent and educator? So you're all parents, you're all educators. So what do you think that the challenges that you people are facing? If you are a teacher as well, so you might have asked from the student side perspective. Yes, ma'am.
The kids think they know better than us.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe what we are trying to say is like the old food,
Hmm.
Yeah, this is the most question that my children, my youngest one used to raise. That Mama, this is not your age time.
Right. Okay.
We get answers from ChatGPT before they come to us. So it becomes a little difficult.
So handling the current era means like for us become a challenge.
Yeah, because the tab is there, right? So the first thing is ask. Not that they don't come, they do come, but we try to best tell them what it gives, how to handle that. But the information exposure has gone out of control.
And our techniques are running short of those information that are coming up with. Okay, one more? Yes, ma'am.
I think when we were younger, we were cynical, we had doubts. We would try and get our information from multiple sources, also accessing the Quran, alhamdulillah. But I feel, maybe I must be wrong, I feel like children today don't seem to have any questions. They're so disengaged from this, from the idea of reality or truth, because there's so much exposure, so much whatever entertainment information, they don't feel the need to have doubts or questions, which is scary. There has to be some need to know about the larger questions about reality.
Okay, fine. Okay. Just one. What usually happens? You have some of you answered earlier, but how do you respond to any difficult question if they come up? Any one or two examples? Some student asked the question. What are your general responses? How do you feel when a question comes to you? It's not about answer. It's about actually the whole feeling that you go through when a question is posed on you. Yeah, you raised it first.
I always try to put a reference back to Islamic history and to see how this was handled during their time and what wisdom we can take from past Islamic history.
Okay, mashallah, you'll get to know about this soon. Okay, particularly, yes.
No, multiple things, right? One is whether you yourself are doing it right, which you mentioned. That first we need to see whether we are doing it right, and then how do we handle that?
The question is about. I asked you a question. I'm your son. I just directly asked you a question. What happens with you? Like, how do your thinking process, your emotions, and what type of answers you would prefer to give? Like she said, I used to relate with Islamic history or something like that. What about you?
That depends on what kind of question it is.
Right.
That really depends on what kind of question. And we try to sort of give the best
possible answer. Fine.
And not necessarily that we know everything that time. So we tell them we'll check on and we'll give the right answer.
Fine.
Because in that
so you try to give answers.
Yeah, I think one challenge that I feel myself, it's also a question of when they ask the question. So parents are so busy. Many a times when the children approach them, it's another thing whether you know the answer or not, right? The point is many a times we are not in a position to answer. So we cannot try and delay, or we try to deflect, try and, especially when you talk about difficult questions, because difficult questions require more time, more engagement, you have to go deeper and try and solve it. But because a lot of times we are so busy, I have my class happening in the next 10 minutes, I can't take on a difficult question in the next 5 minutes when I have to jump into my next meeting, I'm working from home, and so that's one. Secondly is when you are in a position to engage, it's a question of are you in a position to answer the question? I think as a parent, we also have to have that realization of what our limits are. Our intellectual limits, our limits of our knowledge, and then we either try and address it, or we then direct them to the right source where they can get the right information.
Inshallah. Fine. Yes, ma'am.
I realized that the questions again, like someone said that the type of question matters, but irrespective of the type of question, I think sometimes we know the answer, and sometimes we ourselves don't know the answer. So to be more consistent, what I've been doing is that irrespective of whether I know the answer, I don't know the answer, I don't give an answer. I try to get my children to let's find out together. Because that's just a consistent approach. Because I can just give answers and that's just spoon feeding. We need to have the children develop skills to find answers for themselves.
Okay, that's good.
Because always it's not going to be me who have the answers, right? I'm not someone who knows that much. So just to have a consistent approach, what I'm trying to say.
So you try not to answer, but rather guide them towards that answer, right? So that's your approach.
We try to find an answer together and we try to analyze it together so they develop their critical thinking skills.
Right. Just one sister, the last one, inshallah.
I have a childish question. For me, what is a difficult question?
Any question that you can't answer becomes a difficult for you.
Like, is it related to the Islam? Is it related
It could be any.
to maths question, or is it related
It could be any. It could be any question. For right now, at this point of time, we could say that it can come from any domain. We're not specifying a domain, whether it is Islam faith-based question, or it's a career-based question, or it's just a simple doubt, confusion, or you heard something from right and left. Yeah.
Because our children are very sharp. They are not asking me a science question or math question or even the
True.
daily living questions. They don't ask these questions. They think they are sharper than us.
Yeah.
And they know better about this world. So, and regarding how to live the life, I think we have to उनको उस चीज पे लाना ही एक काम है.
Exactly.
The right path पे उनको लेकर ही नहीं आए तो.
Inshallah, you're also on the right path. Inshallah, let's move forward. Okay. So, possible reasons if you talk about the questions or things that you have mentioned, that these things or problems or challenges are coming. What could be possible? One very quick one. We need to go through this one very quickly. What could be the possible reasons you think that nowadays these challenges are coming more and more, or students or students are asking such level of questions and different things, the confusions?
I think a lot of it has to do with what the kids are taking in and seeing through video games, movies, and social media.
Okay, right. Anyone else?
Exposure.
It's basically exposure.
The exposure that they're getting is just overwhelming.
Right. That's exposure, right? Different thing, yes.
Moreover, I think we ask questions to test my knowledge rather than learning.
Yeah.
Everything is different.
Yeah. Right.
So I
And
have to be very careful.
right. Anyone more answer? Or
In my case, lots of correct also, less time and
right. MashaAllah. You're all moving to the right path. What are the solutions according to you? If I ask you, forget about this whole framework that is coming ahead. If you have to say, what are the solutions that you think as if now, or you must have tried, right? As one of the solutions, she said that I try to go along with the kids and do that research part and those type of a thing rather than answering. That's one approach. That one solution she has come up with. And as she also said that I try to link it with Islamic history or something like that, depending on the question, or seerah or something like that, right? So that's also a solution. Some people might say, we'll cut them off with the technology, we'll take everything away from them, some curtail timings and make boundaries or something like that. So what are the solutions according to you in order to come up with these challenges?
So I think one solution that really is that first to
Very good.
encourage them that they ask that question. So to let them know that was a really good question. I didn't think of it like that. I like that type of viewpoint and build upon that.
Right.
I don't know the solution, but what I have done is I used to watch shows with him, and I used to snub on the thing which is happening, because in the teenage and in the shows these days, they portray the parents as the stupid entity of the of the house,
channel of communication
Mm.
where we kind of make the child feel comfortable that they can approach their parents and have a conversation about questions. So sister said something very good, that we should encourage them, to give them positive kind of reaction when they come and ask questions. And again, like I said, a lot of the time the challenge that we are facing today, we are struggling with time. As parents, we're very busy. So sometimes because of our inability to kind of serve them, we kind of snub them. Don't bother me right now. What kind of stupid question is this? Because we're bothered from their question. Not that we can't answer the question, but it's just we feel bothered. And depending on the child's age and intellectual ability, we need to be prepared. They will be asking all kinds of questions. They can be, at our intellectual level, they could be very stupid questions, but we need to get to the level of the child. For that child,
understand
the
that
fact that that child has asked a question means that the child wants to know the answer. So no question should be taken as silly enough.
Yes, true. So alhamdulillah, so you have few things in mind, and let's we see that as we move along. So how these things, relates to what you said, or it's something completely opposite, right? Okay, so again, this is what most of you have already said or even observed, right? You'll see this diagram once again later on as well, okay? Because we need to understand one thing, that before there any question, there is often a struggle, something inside. There's a whole process of it. We'll discuss about it. This diagram is basically very good because what you see on the face is this small peak, but there's a deep down. There's a deep down foundation inside the water. Right? It's an iceberg. So what you see is just these little questions coming up in front of you. But there's something bigger under the surface, right? Okay. So what does this basically diagram tells you about?
Building together, working together,
Right.
Coming down to the level of the kid.
Spend time with them.
Spend time with them. Very good.
Be prepared.
Okay.
Planting the seeds.
Yeah, planting the seed, nurturing it together, and there was another diagram as I deleted that but then there's a stages of this planting the seed, saving it, and then as it grows on, the different needs at different stages and the gardener knows at what stage, what type of care and actions I need to take, and he knows exactly the needs of that plant, of the tree, of the plant, and from very first stage of even then he also knows that which seed will grow well in which soil, which type of soils. He understands that level of things as well, right? And then when he sow the seed, then he knows what to do until the last stage, right? So this is a very beautiful diagram. As a gardener, you can always take this parenting. You can always learn that parenting as from this gardener's perspective, because it's not about sowing the seed and then move on to your life. Dekhi jayegi. The environment will do it for him. Okay, that's the end thing. We'll come to that later on. But again, that when you do that certain level of care with the kids, with the plant, and when it becomes a full-fledged tree, he can then handle all the storms, rain, everything that is coming from the environment. But at every stage has its own needs, right? So that's basically the thing. It's a tree analogy, right? The 5D thinking also uses it in Norse perspective. Leadership also uses this tree in their own ways, right? So much is a very beautiful, thing. And behind this screen, there is a whole ayah written as well, and that's also about a tree diagram about it, that good words and how it flourishes and have the strong roots and all those type of things. So if you talk about this, the roots are like, you can say, the faith. At some stage, you need to have the students or your child's root, they're deeply rooted with the faith part, right? From the initial stages, the roots has to be very firm, because if the roots are not firm, you're not going to have a flourished, well-rooted, a tree that gives a good fruit and benefit the whole world, right? The whole ummah. And you can see this trunk as akhlaq, the attributes, right? The deeply rooted faith and good akhlaq. And even you can say in our deen as well, you have these two basic, the akhlaq and all this faith and aqaid. These two makes a very big part of the human development, the whole life of it, right? So, and then there is another thing, these trunks, these branches are the skills and the knowledges that we give to our kids, right? And that is basically the channel where they're about to benefit the whole world through their skills, through the knowledge, right? So that's the base of it. These leaves are the manners, adab. This is akhlaq, and these are adab. And you know what these leaves do to a tree? It made it look beautiful, stunning, right? Without the leaves in autumn, mostly we see the same tree, but we don't fascinate the tree with that, right? We don't feel that tree as that fascination. But these leaves are this is what you beautify the whole personality of a kid, these manners. These fruits, right? These are the good deeds, right? Means now if you have a faith, you have good rooted faith, you have good akhlaq, you have provided your children with right amount of skills and knowledges and taught them the manners, definitely they're going to do those good deeds which is going to be benefit by the whole ummah and the world, and we normally eat those fruits, and this is called the benefit that we are giving to the ummah. This environment is basically the community and the cultural influence, the environment in which this tree has been grown, and the soil is basically your home and the family environment. So all of these things, if we see, shapes the whole, complete human personality, right? And everything is needed, and each of these things is the responsibility of a parent. You can't simply say, okay, I've given him enough knowledge, I've sent him to the school, he's learning skills, he's learning AI, he's learning XYZ, easy thing, he'll be going a great person in life. Whereas he doesn't have that right worldview to utilize these things and right adab to do that thing in order to benefit. And you see, like thousands, millions of people are learning AI and whatever skills we have also learned. In our own fields, if we are real estate or something, we have learned that skills, right? But there are people who simply betray people, who take wrong routes to earn. And there are other one who has the values, who has something, and they are doing the same thing, but doing completely differently. Where was the difference? We normally say in our social circle, it's as a good human character, that's it. We don't go deeper than that. But you may have seen that maybe their parents have made this root strong. And now when that person, shaped as a whole person, is in the environment, he knows what to do. He can handle all those storms and everything. So anyhow, we can go very in detail into these things, but our purpose is not this. The main purpose to show is this. Okay, these are all things that as a parent we need to understand, that we need to work upon, right? There's a many levels of the tarbiyah, the physical, the physical tarbiyah, the emotional, faith, skills, knowledge. These are all the responsibility of the parents that we need to develop in our kids. So your child is your amana. So you need to take that as an amana, right? It's your amana. No one else can do it for you the way you can do it. So as a person said, each of you is a shepherd, and each of you will be asked about his flock. So you will be asked about your kids. You'll be going to question about it. You cannot simply outsource your tarbiyah, your responsibility to other people to do it for you, right? They may support you, but you need to understand at the first stage that it's us. It's us who needs to take time for our kids. No matter whatever job we are doing, no matter whatever business we are doing, no matter what we are doing. But if that is coming at the cost of a child, then we really need to think about it. We really need to maybe reframe the whole ideology of our busyness and our, the time that we are spending and everything we are doing. So the parentship is not ownership, it's a stewardship, the presence and responsibility before Allah. Parenting today is not is more than the provision. What mostly of us are doing, and we normally, in society is a very common line. If we say in Urdu कि तुम्हें पढ़ाया, लिखाया, तुम्हें अच्छे स्कूल में भेजा, etc., etc. So this is what maximum that we are thinking of it, and we are getting proud of it as well. Right? We sent you a good school. We've spending so much money on your fees, your transport. I've given you every gadget that you asked for. I take you to the best of the malls for shopping. I give you the branding clothings. And then what do you say after 20, 30 years? We say the same lines again and say, what are you doing with us? So there's something wrong that we did back then. Right? So, but what our children need, especially today, and this has become evident now, that's why you all are here. If all of these things were enough, I hope that this parenting session would not have been conducted and none of should have been coming over here. Because you also now, it's quite evident now that there's something more that is now required. Even the education system is talking about now that we may emotional intelligence, life skill, start giving these things, because society has seen a lot of suicide cases, a lot of drug cases, a lot of other social problems. It's not become quite evident. If this would have been enough, and we can see the major problems are coming from these places as well. So this means there's something else that is needed, and we have missed that spot to some extent. So our child still need the presence and listening, the trust and emotional stay, moral direction, and there was also a safe place for questions where they can ask, right? And this, be very mindful, a safe place. And who can provide that safe space place? Us. Parents needs to do that. So delegation is not enough. Sending them to a school, or for that matter, I've seen many parents, I have sent you to the madrasa, he's become an alim, he is an hafiz. What else I can do? I've seen many parents saying that, what else I can do? मैंने इसको हाफिज बना दिया, मैंने इसको मदरसे में भेज दिया था. अब मैं और क्या करूं? Right? Or maybe उसके friends पे नजर रख ली है and are giving them the right to. So it's not the delegation is not enough. Right? So there's something else that we need to say. So the tarbiyah cannot be outsourced. Sending to a school and thinking they will do a job for you and I'll remain busy whatever I'm doing in my life, that's not enough. That's not going to work out. Right? So institutions do support the child, and again it's a responsibility to send your child to such institution which supports the environment and overall ideology that you really want your kids to be. And that's also another aspect of parenting, right? To take those decisions. Parents anchor the child, but questions still need a safe home, conversations, right? That's important. So again, let me share a story with you, the way I've told about before. It's a hypothetical name, but the story is real. If someone, Avas is sitting here, so I'm sorry for that, but again, it's a hypothetical name, right? It was while we were developing this, so there was Avas sitting in front of us, so we just said, okay, story of Avas, right? Yeah, but the story is real. This actually, ESM starts from this kid in 2015, right? The whole ESM is not theoretical. They're all based on the real scenarios and cases. And it's being from this 9 to 10, after 10 years we start presenting it. And before that, every technique that you say, I do different techniques. So every technique that we apply, it backfired, and from that it kept going on. After that, we came up with different things that this being developed after a long, this whole 8 to 9 years cases being conducted. So the story of Avas is that he's an O-level student. He was an O-level student. At that time, he just entered A-levels. He was an hafiz. Number one thing, parents said, मैंने तो मदरसे भेज दिया था, कुरान भी याद करवा दिया, माशाल्लाह. Belongs to a religious family as well. Maybe the hafiz is there, but the family is not that religious, but still, okay, out of interest, so they've sent it to the Hifz school. Religious family. Mother, alima, scholar. Father, scholar. Well, you name it, scholar, tablighi, teaching, a teacher at madrasa. He was everything that you could name it as a religious person. You may view as a religious person, right? He did in all levels from an Islamic school. That could be another level of the parenting. I choose the good school for my, what else can I do? Right? As he enters into the O levels, and it was a co-ed school, because normally in Pakistan right now as well, the A level schools, most of the Islamic schools are not into the A levels right now. After O levels, they're finished. Right? To till the maximum O levels, you have that option. And then this person, of course, since he went to co-ed, so he saw a whole new world out there, and he got engaged with a girl. And he was a sports person, and he was involved in some sports activities. There was some sports festival going on, and his girlfriend was calling him, and he couldn't attend the call. And later the news came that she committed suicide. And he started blaming himself. Okay, wish I could have attended that call. I could have saved her. I don't know what she went through, what happens, what could have happened, etc. So many things started coming up, and as the time goes on, he started creating those doubts in his eyes. In his, why this God? If the God was merciful, why couldn't the God saved her? What she was so nice, she was so good. What wrong she did? All these things. That whole process got triggered with an incident, right? So he went to depression. He went to drug addiction. He was admitted to a rehabilitation center. Alhamdulillah, to some extent, he got cured there. But then, after all this whole process, his father came to Atif Karamat Saab, the one he mentioned about. He was a close friend of his because of his religious circle as well. He came for the help that I've heard that you understand these type of things, so I want my son to get some counseling or something like that. Na? And he said, this is like normally a psychologist, take it to a psychiatrist, and I'm not the professional for drug and all these type of things. He said, I'm coming you after that whole stage. And this is actually the report of a psychiatrist, and he said that he harbors numerous questions, inquiries and uncertainties regarding the religious concepts. But what shocked us, he said that the psychiatrist said this is not an isolated case. A substantial number of girls, young boys and girls are coming to me with the similar conditions. Mufti Atik Rahman said this line of the doctor's report shook me. He said something needs to be done then. This is not an individual case. I cannot take it as this could happen to my son as well. He's growing as well. It could come to my family as well. So then he take that thing. On the face, you won't find so many things like that. His classmates, but he said that many people are coming with the same thing. Right? So this phenomenon is termed as skepticism, more specifically a religious skepticism that he did in the report. So let's take an example. This is not standard. There could be a possibility that none of you have heard these questions from your son or the daughter. But does it mean you will not hear it? Doesn't mean you will not going to get it from, they are not going to be injected these things sooner or later. Maybe they are not asking it, but they are in the phase of asking it at some point of time. Right? So you cannot isolate yourself that, oh, this is not my problem. This is not happening in my case. Right? But these are few random and most popular questions that we through social media and different papers. That's why we just written it. But I'll take it as examples. Why is there so much suffering in the world if Allah is merciful? And these are very high-end questions, right? There's a whole process before as well. But we have seen people, those who have literally left Islam or got into depressions, their last stages are normally such type of questions. Why men and women are not equal in Islam? If everything is predestined, then why should I be punished for my bad acts? Right? So if Allah knows everything and He's written everything, so what is my fault in it? So why am I being punished? Right? And then many other things. Why does Islam allow terrorism? This was especially after that what was it? 2011. 9/11, right? After that, this thing starts coming a lot, and we have one case and at that time he was in US when this all happened. So that's from there on. One of our case was that started from this incident, and it took 12 years for him to be a declared agnosis, and there was a whole process in between. For 12 years, you can't figure out that he is to that level. After 12 years, he really declared officially that I am an agnosis. If not atheist, agnostic, yeah. So I'm an agnostic. It's another level of atheism. Yeah, atheist says there is no God. Agnostic says hoga. I don't care. 50-50. Hoga, nahi bhi hoga, doesn't matter. And they are more difficult as compared to atheist to deal with, right? Anyhow, and then there's another one, deism, who says, okay, 50% God, 50% human. There are certain things that God did and then he went to rest. And other things are going on its own now. So there is no, don't disturb God into XYZ things. The God is not for this. Right? Anyhow, so there are many things. Why Islam is so non-scientific? अब 1400 साल पुरानी बातें करते रहते हैं बस. Science कहाँ से कहाँ चली गई है? They have reached to moon and you're talking about wazaif and all this thing. What are you talking about? Right? How do we know Islam is a true religion? This is coming really. This is coming on with a very fast pace. Right? They need a proof to be a believer. And they are questioning your strategies. They are questioning your approach of telling them that Islam is a true religion. They usually say that you have no research mindset, you just believe it. Take it, but I do the research. I'll see first, right? Anyways, so what are our possible answers for these questions? Again, this is not exactly the way that you this question always say this thing. But from this approach, sometimes you can give answers to any of the situations, but morely famous answers, famous responses. But it's a test from Allah. Who has been putting these ideas in your head? If you think like this, you'll go to hell. Astaghfirullah. You're spending so much time on the internet. Stop from tomorrow. I'm going to take your gadgets. Don't ask silly questions. अभी time नहीं है. या तुम्हारी उम्र नहीं है अभी. Shaitan is putting these thoughts in your head. Right? These are normal answers. What are the possible reactions to these questions, to these responses? Let's talk about some initial reactions. Disappointment. I asked you a question, you said, oh, abhi time nahi hai, jao. Pata nahi, I got disappointed maybe, right? Confusion. Disagreement, as one of the sisters said as well, that mostly we come into disagreement with the parents, with the teacher, right? We say something, we do give answers, but it might not be enough for them. Loss of trust, one of the sisters said about this point as well, that there is a loss of trust between my kids, right? So this is a starting point that has been starting developing inside a child. And the reason we are going through this all, that as a parent and as an educator, we start realizing, at least we start thinking to that level, okay, my responses can generate these things. And as a parent at least, as an educator when we are teaching, so we say that we exam ki tak ke level ki cheezein soch ke we design our curriculum. But when we're talking about parenting, we also need to see this, that how far these things can go. Right now at this moment, as well as Khurram said, that sometimes we are not in a position to answer. So, but then don't answer. Rather than giving something wrong or something like that. That father went to job and office for his meeting and at the back same process thinking, oh my Baba said this, oh what is this, what is happening, okay let's Google it. By the time he will come back at night to answer, he's gone in his thoughts at least. Right? Maybe you can come up with some different approach. Okay, but we'll talk it tonight. Right now I have a meeting, we'll talk about it tonight inshallah. This is a very important question. Let's see, let's discuss it tonight, okay, when I come back. Right? If you even don't have time, okay, on the weekend maybe you can take them out and have a discussion at some, but that you can see. But so these initial responses, reactions can lead to the internal questioning, exploring the alternative resources, become skeptical, and then they may end up in following some extreme narrative, both ways, in the terms of religion as well, and in the term of anti-religion as well, right? So, but anyhow, they may end up following some extreme, and most of the time, this is when the stage when we start realizing, oh, something has gone wrong. Because this is the thing that we can see, but before that, we cannot see. Okay, this is a cognitive process basically. It could be in a positive way as well. It could be a negative way as well. Even if I ask, if you see, when I was in university, I was a completely different mindset. And when I see the journey, and again I thought that I follow the same path, and end up in a good side as well. But the same thing follows for the other way around as well, right? So for example, if you have some confusion, some problem, some thinking are going on, it leads to questions. It generates questions. Your confusion leads or generates the questions. Okay, what is happening? And maybe at this stage you are asking a very genuine question. You're asking with a good heart. You really want to know, right? And then these questions, it leads to doubt, suspicion, and skepticism. Okay. For example, there's a question, you ask something, and then it leads to more confusion, more sometimes doubts. Okay, if this is happening, then what will happen? What will in this case? What will happen in that case? What will happen in that case? So it leads to further doubts. And when these doubts are answered or not answered, then next stage is that started becoming an opinion. In my opinion, I feel like this. I thought, I think, right? So an opinion stage, it could be like not only religious perspective, when you're learning something, so you create some opinions, right, based on whatever understanding and research you have done. But initially it's an opinion. After an opinion, your decision starts to be based on those opinions. You started taking decisions based on those things. And then it become an ideology, nazariya, an ideology. You start seeing everything with that perspective. For example, may Allah Ta'ala, I apologize for this example. For example, somehow, for some reason, for some incident, you came up with through this whole process and you have made this an ideology that YLH is not a good place. Now, no matter what we're gonna do, you are gonna see everything from the yes, it's just a marketing techniques. Oh, he's just doing it like this. Oh, I know what is happening inside, etc. And this is happening everywhere in our life, in our relationships, in our jobs, everywhere, right? There is one joke of it. Basically, there's one person a girl went to a scholar and said, "I have a fight at home." He said, "Okay, I'm giving you, a sort of what we say, taweez or something in Urdu, English, I don't know, but so I'll give you some formula. Just what you need to do is that whenever there is a fight, just put it on your mouth, right?" And after a few days, she came and said, "Oh, alhamdulillah, my mother-in-law has become so good, and there's no fight anymore." What actually happens that you change the perspective, and everything, and things become better. And there are many examples like this. Jokes are there. Anyways, so it becomes an ideology, and ultimately it becomes your worldview. So it takes a lot of process to reach to this level. When your worldview has been created about how you go, the lens has been developed, how you view things, right? For example, like there was a point when I really enjoyed music, and I thought that how someone can live without it. But then there came a point as well when I said how someone can listen to the music. And there are other examples, and I've seen that many people who got changed in that phase of time. Everything that we used to like, and you will certainly feel like that, how is that possible? Because now the lens is changed, right? Anyway, so let's do some cause analysis, because one thing that is important, that you cannot, someone said that we answer the questions, right? So you cannot answer something unless you don't know the cause of it. Even, the mechanic or some person the maintenance workers come, he first of all, when he sees something, some leak or something, he says, okay, let me see where is the cause. And he keeps on checking and reach to the root cause and then propose a solution, right? So the major thing is that you need to understand that, okay, what could be the cause of this question before I answer it. So that is very important. So what type of cause can be? So there could be many, but of course this is out of research, and there are bigger categories, and then you can have many other these categories coming under it. One of the cause is desires and lust. Sometimes we do ask this question and we have these confusions based on that, based on our desires. We want to do something, and we are getting an opposite opinion about it, right? But we really wanted to do it, and we try to figure out different narratives. Somehow, I get something that really going to allow me to do that thing, right? So this is their religious misrepresentation and misconception, both. Inferiority complex, right? So for example, there were a few questions that why Muslim by birth will go to heaven and why non-Muslim by birth will go to hell. This was actually that ESM start with that kid, but before that, when Mufti Atif Rahman Sahib changed, he got changed. It was because of this question. And when ESM was started, so this research helped us to develop a lot of modules afterwards. He has a friend in US, and he said, their common friend said that, okay, there's a friend of us, so you are, mashallah, doing a lot of research in religion, so please help him out. So he asked him, he went there, he asked this question from him. And Mufti Sahib did all the research, Atik Rahman Sahib, he went to library over there, he went to different scholars so that I cannot come up with same opinion. He went to all sects of the scholars, everyone, Misri scholar, Pakistani scholars, Indian scholars, every type of person he went through so that I can satisfy him and I can give him the answer, right? And he gave him the answer. But then the person says, no, you're lying. And after that, no one knows where he is. And few years later, the common friend told me that, you know what happened with that person? I said, what happened? He said, he left Islam. I said, okay, oh, why? I gave him so much researched answers. I've told him all the hadith, Quran, everything. Why? He didn't respond to that. He said, okay, brother, you answered his question. That was on the search iceberg I show you. You answered his question that he was asking. You didn't know what was the cause of it. The main reason was of this question that he has become in love with an Indian girl who is Hindu, and somehow he don't want to have that narrative that I can't marry this girl because she is going to go to hell because she is not Muslim. So somehow he really wanted that she went to heaven. And that question was just an excuse to escape. So that he can say, I have researched, I have talked to scholars and I didn't get any answer. That's it. So that was just an excuse. It was the last stage that you were trying to respond. You didn't know what was there at the back. That's why this whole cause analysis module was developed, because of this question. Yeah. The one that I told you about, that person becoming agnostic, he asked this question, why Islam allows terrorism? Right? He asked this question. And it took 12 years. And he said, I researched 12 years, I didn't get any answer, so I have declared this thing. And when he came to and he was already into 5 to 6 years of agnosticism. But somehow one of his friends said, okay, at least go to him and have your doubts or whatever you want to bust onto him, just go to him. Right? And then inshallah, when you do the complete ESM, we'll talk about his story and his process a lot more there. Okay, so a 12-year-old question, and this was the question asked by Mufti Atif Rahman Saab's daughter at home. Right? How I can believe in an unseen God. Right? It was very Masumana, very out of curious question. So he dealt with that, but you can say that it's not about 35 years or a 40 years old asking a question. You can have a 6, 7, 8, 10 years questions as well with you. And you don't deal that according to their level at that point, then this may lead to the other things as well. So desire and lust of opposite gender, that we are well known of it, wealth as well, career as well, right? Many people do this thing. There's some lucrative career, so much money in it, and again somehow their faith, their values, their home culture, their country culture is stopping them to do that. And they say, okay, leave it. I need to pursue for my career. Right? So it's become very easy for them. Of course, there are stages to it. And interestingly, there's a desire and lust for food as well. And those who live in US or some non-Muslim countries, they can relate to this thing that many people can leave Islam just because of this lust of food. There's a scholar who has written a book, South African scholar, Yusuf Bhiku, And he has written a book, Blackmail by Food. Blackmail by Food. Right? Yeah, and I've seen one of my close family members, he says, so I have to travel a lot to take that halal meat. I did 1 year or 2 years. How long I can do that? I can't survive without it otherwise. And then he can bring some, Islamic version of it, then this will become a majburi for me, and now I can do that, it's halal for me. And then kept going on, and then at the end, everything is gone. Because they can't survive without that, and many other possibilities as well. So, extremism, hypocrisy, natural calamities. Yeah, you can say that you have earthquakes, tsunami, and lot of these type of things. Serial killing, murdering. Then people ask these questions: if Allah is God so merciful, then where was He? What was the reason why? What was the why these innocent people died? What did they do? Right. So these things start triggering them, and they may end up in some misrepresentation of the religion's concepts. Right? I'm not talking right here Islamic misrepresentation. Just generally, I've talked about religious misrepresentation. Right? So right now we're not then talking about that, and simply and again misconceptions as well. We have a lot. Because so both things are there. Personal incidents, something happened in your family, some death of close one. People start going into the doubts, and that whole process of that thing that I showed you, that chain, why it happens to me, why Allah Ta'ala took me, why God took me, my loved one, why is that happen? So the doubt started, and then maybe from there on, what happened with that 12-year kid, with the 16-year kid? His girlfriend died, and that's where it triggered everything. That personal incidents was one of the cause, and then he just started doing this misconception, misrepresentation regarding his religion, and then end up taking that narrative. Inferiority complex, again that scientific progress, people are progressing so much, my religion or my norms is holding me back, right? Colonial mindset, peer pressure, fashion. One of the reasons for leaving Sunnah today, most of the Sunnahs are fashion because not in the fashion. It seems not into the fashion. So fashion is again one of the very big reason for, it could be a good cause for all these doubts and questionings that we are seeing from the kids. Again, so this is why I asked people, were all these things happened in this era only, and were they not present before? So the first killing, the first incident of killing happened what? Where? When? So it happened that time. Were there no munafiqeen at the time of Prophet ﷺ? Were there no misrepresentations taking place at the time of Prophet ﷺ or afterwards? There were, but we didn't see that mass issues at that time. Then why it is happening today? Right? It's a question. So it means that whatever the reasons that we talked about were not the real reasons. They were the secondary reasons, to whom we are thinking as our primary reasons. Even when we talk about this room, so all these social media, etc., these type of reasons were coming because of social media, because of this, because of that. But these things at their own level were at different times as well. But that impact was not there at that particular. But what happens now? What is happening now? It's one of the reasons is this clash of the worldviews. One of the primary reason is the clash between an Islamic worldview versus a secular worldview. And that happened mostly after the 17th century, when this worldview starts getting more prevalent, and then it starts with the church. It then enters into the politics, and then it enters into the education system. And because and that is the line which is affecting us the most. And then it comes to sports and every phase of the life, starting from that 17th century. How? That we talk about. And that definitely leads to the identity crisis. What happened to that kid as well? Islamic school, Hafiz, seeing in a very Islamic environment at home, and as he goes to a co-ed, he saw a complete world, a whole new world, fascinating, lucrative, fashion, enjoyment, So where I was living, right? So it's an identity crisis. Now let's see. Let's take some critical questions, right? What is the purpose of life? And it's not an Islamic question, basically. It's a general humanity question, irrespective of the religion or irrespective of whatever mindset he's belonged to. What is the primary source of authentic knowledge? If I even have researched it, I have to ask this question. Which knowledge is essential for success? What are the key performance indicators, success criteria, KPIs? We all have KPIs in every institution, right? Where we talk about what should be the key indicator process for the successful employee. Let's talk about then how these worldview answer these questions. What is according to Islamic worldview, what is the purpose of life? Abudiyya, total submission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in secular worldview, fulfillment of the desires. What one of the purpose of life is just follow what you want. You have certain goals. The success criteria that are totally different. Enjoy, or you only live once, right? Eat, sleep, and enjoy. And some says there is no purpose at all. You will be different. You will be different. You will be different. It's based on your circumstances. And some even say that when your identity is nothing, then there is no purpose as well. You are simply nothing but a biological device, so there is no purpose. You're not even human. There is a narrative that this narrative also prevails. Source of knowledge according to Islamic worldview is the revelation, the ultimate source of knowledge. It is there as well, this one, but ultimate source of knowledge. For secular worldview, only the sensory perception. What you see, feel, touch, and information you're getting from there, that's it. This is what? Nothing above, nothing below. Right? Which knowledge is essential for success? Quran, Hadith, Fiqh, and for them, science, mathematics, and social sciences. And we see this thing. When someone is enriched with this, Jahil, unpad, right? Uneducated. Oh, he is alim, he is scholar. Oh, he is mathematician. He is engineer, he is doctor. He is educated, right? We'll talk this thing later on. Key performance indicator, faith-based amal. And here, degrees, profession, and wealth. Based on that, you say someone is successful or unsuccessful. So can you see there's a complete clash, 180-degree shift, a complete clash of two worldviews. But how is this creating a problem? Now come to this is already big things. Now let's bring it to the level of us what we are doing over here. Islamic worldview initially is seeded by the parents in childhood only. I'm talking on a general perspective, and of course, we can see in our kids, we have the Qari Sahib coming up for the Quran and Nazra, right? And even in nursery and KG, even you bring a secular school as well, they keep telling you duas and little bit of things, good character, moral character. These things are, alhamdulillah, going at this childhood level, even if you're going to the secular schools as well. But they, with different names, they're doing it all over there, right? But this secular worldview is implanted and developed by society all lifelong. When you go out, because whole society is developed on it. It fades away with the passage of time. Even if you make your son a Hafiz the Quran, and as he completes his hifz, normally what is our approach? Oh, what about schooling now? How he's going to, and for maybe what I've experienced, after 1 year or 2 years maximum, he will go for Taraweeh, and some Qari Sahib is still coming and doing some dua and everything. And then later on, I've seen many Hafaz in universities saying that, please don't tell everyone that I'm a Hafiz, because I don't know, I don't remember. Oh, at that time when parents did that, fine, but after that, even the parents are not there focusing on your degree. You say, oh, it's exams, okay, leave the Quran right now, oh, something is happening. So it fades away with the time. Even you did something at the start of childhood, but as you move along with the journey of his age, this worldview starts to fade away. Because when you're going to marry him, you're going to say this consciously or unconsciously, you're going to see, what does this person do? What is the job? How much he earns? Does he have his own home? Does he have a car? What should he do? What is the degree? Has a job or no? So you are continuously bringing these benchmarks in front of him, and then after I say, okay, no, it should be nice and pious as well. Right? So we are bringing these things in our decisions as well, even within the family. So let alone that's what society is doing. So ultimately, what happens? The Islamic view becomes questionable for him because he is not seeing it. Even in the acts of the parents as well, even at home as well. You don't have, the decisions are based on these things. Your decisions, your benchmarks are still going all this thing with this thing, and they're just simply trying to integrate or embed few lines of Islamic worldview, and then ultimately at some age it becomes questionable. It says, okay, this is completely irrelevant. Then bringing answers from Islamic history or Quran or Hadith becomes irrelevant. And if he's not saying openly, he will say, okay, fine, but I'll do what society is doing. But I can see the success based on lies. The whole marketing today is what? And I see people say, well, if you don't lie, if you don't protect, you can't have a successful business. When I'm constantly seeing this thing, how can someone, only my mother is saying this thing, oh no, beta, don't tell a lie. It's not good. But okay, I understand it's not good, but how can I survive without it? I can't do anything. You remember the tree at the start? The trunk has to be strong and the roots has to be strong, then those fruits and branches will gonna be healthy. And that becomes established over the period of time. So ultimately the last stage, Islamic worldview becomes rejected and the secular worldview becomes a reality. Now you keep bringing Quran, Hadith, Allah Ta'ala may give him hidayah, but so at that level of stage, because now that complete thing has become irrelevant for him. Right? So this primary cause, when you have this clash, then definitely when these things are attached, so we call it as a trigger points. So these are just the trigger points now. They saw some post in social media, triggered because they already had the other worldview. Some incident happens, triggered. Very easy to question religion, very easy to question home's values, very easy to question parents, very easy to question anything that is coming in front of them because what they are seeing, they are believing it. Right? So everything becomes irrelevant now. So they becomes trigger points at that particular time. Right? Well, otherwise, you can see that the amount of challenges that Sahaba and Prophet says, we compare to their way of facing nothing. But they didn't go up to that level. But we are. Okay, what can you see over here? Smoke. Just think that this room is filled with smoke. You can't see smoke over here, but that's why we started to represent it so that you can see here at least smoke. But if this room is filled with the smoke, or you turn on the gas of the stove, and your whole room is filled with that gas. Can you see that gas? Can you see that? You can see it here, but actually you can't see that, right? You can smell that at certain level of time, but you cannot see that. And what happens is I walked out, I came into the room or my floor or my flat, and somehow I went to the kitchen to make something, and I simply lit the match. What will happen? Boom, a blast, right? So this is actually happening. Okay, when you light up this match with this whole fill of secular worldview, any trigger point, be it the social media or misrepresentation or whatever you come up with, any family problem, personal incidents, anything that will happen, it will create that boom of that whole Islamic worldview. Everything will be shattered. Everything become irrelevant. Your logics become irrelevant for them. Okay. Channels of skepticism.
Can I say something? Previous slide. I think it's a good analogy that you.
This one?
Yes, sir. Right. I think there are rare, in my observation, probably to do with this community. Maybe in the West, it's different. The experiences are different. But here, where we are living in a Muslim society, largely Muslim society, versus a largely non-Muslim society, I think the experiences are probably different.
rare cases where you get to that stage of boom and somebody comes out and says, "Thank you very much. I have nothing to do with this worldview. Keep your Islam to yourself." I think what happens in a Muslim society is it reaches a point where at the level of belief in your subconscious, you've adopted a secular worldview. In your practices, it becomes very evident. But in reality, you never go out and say.
Yes.
So in sense, you're living the life of a munafik, right? Not maybe a literal munafik, but all your actions show something else. Or when you sit in a gathering, when maybe it's Ramadan, everyone kind of tries to follow what the society is following. It's Eid prayer, I have to go and do Eid prayer. Maybe on Jummah, I go attend. You start skipping the Salah. That's where I think most people stay.
Yes.
In a Muslim society.
Till this age, yes.
Yeah.
Till this age, yes. Because even if you go a bit back in years, so the amount of declarative atheist or agnostic people now have, even a few years back, they were also at that level, not openly saying, only because I've seen many people saying that I only offer Jummah because my father goes, so I go with him. Right? So you find this even internally. So majority of us still in this spectrum. But the whole purpose of this that we want to make you see that these things, as a parent, because as a parent you're still not realizing that your son or your kid is just doing these type of things. He's just showing it up, but something inside is going on. And I've seen that cases as well, personally as well.
But also having said that, the number of atheists in young children, the children who are leaving Islam and becoming atheists, is on the rise in Muslim society.
It is rising, yes. If not come yet right now, because now you can see that, if you can see now in social media, you have so many platforms. If you're not saying openly in your close circle, you can go there and do whatever you want to say. And then that is bringing the courage, then ultimately you can say that and now no one can say you anything in the name of the human rights, in the name of independencies. So you're bringing up so many these social, secular concepts that now is allowing you to say openly anything and nothing is going to happen to you anyway. So that's bringing that courage to the people who are not openly saying right now, but maybe 10 years onward or maybe 20 years onward, this could be the possible. So we have to foresee as a parent that these things are coming, and we have to bring those conversation and things to the student, to our kids. The idea behind this, we need to stop, this snubbing part and not answering them and not engaging them. That's why right now I haven't used this word answering the question. Even the module does not say so. It says the engaging skeptical mind, right? So we'll see inshallah later on. But all this purpose was to get you the idea that things can go to that level. So as a parent or the educator, we may have to have that viewpoint. That's why mostly the teachers train. If we're doing it with the students, we're not going to do all these things with the students, that you are having a secular worldview. You're not going to do that with them. That's a complete different ball game how you do it with the students. But as a trainer, as an educator, you need to know your checkpoints, your tools, and possible results, what could happen. So normally, the secular worldview, we have these trigger points, is coming from the government, education, economy, society, media, environment. These are few challenges that is going to prevail and is crashing our Islamic worldview, right? We have many examples of this as well, of course, and it started with the politics initially as well. In the 17th century somewhere, the main thing was to bring the God out of the church when it's all started. And then of course it prevailed everywhere else as well. One example of our education system, we take it because we are dealing with it only. So generally Western education system play a vital role in spreading skepticism. And normally we see studies in our science books, man is originated from chimpanzee, what we said, the Darwin's theory. We are studying that in our books. What we are studying is all about the natural laws, the physical laws, the processes, all that causation. This is what the plants grow because of photosynthesis. So photosynthesis has become a god. If you don't say so, but it is actually what they are saying. Okay, no photosynthesis, either than saying it as a part of the process, right? One way could say if like photosynthesis, so a plant grows through photosynthesis. It gives a complete different impact as compared to because of photosynthesis. You're not denying photosynthesis. But these are few things, in a very subtle way, you are getting embedded with this secular worldview in your every daily life, through your books and everything else as well. Where Islamic aspect is something else. The universe came into existence by itself. We say the God created the universe, the Big Bang and each and everything. Truth cannot be known truth can only be known through science. Major philosophy says so, that truth can only be known through experimentation. But we say that some truth cannot be observed in the world. So bringing back that iceberg again. So you can see that there's a very small thing that you see, but there's a whole thing under the surface. So these things that you see, this desire, lust, religion, these are all those triggers, is just the tip of the iceberg basically. Because now you are just seeing it, because they are coming and through. You can say, okay, it's because of social media. Child is asking this. It's because of AI, child is asking. No, it's not because of social media. It's not because of AI. They can be channel, but they are not the source. Right? So they had a deep worldview down there. So that's becoming basically a trigger points in order to get to that level. Okay. This is what we have already discussed. Okay, now to come up with a solution, right? Again, we will say rather than a solution, it's more of a vaccine. It's more of giving that idea of thinking that way, right? So they are mostly, if we talk about the broader category that has been in the past and being used, one is a solution that we can categorize as knowledge-based solution. Like giving the knowledge to the kids, enable them to understand what is happening. Even like for example, right now what we are doing, we're exchanging a knowledge and you're getting that perspective to think on that. But of course we are mature, but kids are not that mature. But again, and that's what we are normally doing. Even that the concept of homeschooling when it rises and Islamic school rises, but they are doing different than the other thing. They're trying to build that knowledge-based thing, right? Okay, from the early age, taught them Arabic, taught them about hadith, and taught them about different styles and things, right? And with the passage of time, it's changing as well. And then, of course, another broad category is the experienced base, and that actually is the major focus of the experience-based solutions is the qalb. You have zikr and majalis and scholars. These type of things are happening around that really going to hit the soul and the heart part of it. And your knowledge-based solutions are basically working on your mind or the akal part of it. This ESM for this particular is the knowledge-based solution that has been developed right now as compared to the experience-based solution. They are there as well. We can always have that integration, but for someone who has gone to that level, initially, it's right, especially for the kids right now or of this age or the coming age, it's very important that we need to make them convince about different things. That logical, people say, well, prove me logically. How this is right logically. Right? So that is the reason this knowledge-based solution is one of the intervention and the solution that we need to bring up. And then, of course, this solution is going to work even more. For us, it is working very well right now because we are not questioning this level of thing. But for the next generation, we need to work on this part as well. We cannot only directly work on this and say, okay, we can get the impacts. Definitely it has the impacts, but we need this type of solution as well. So ESM in particularly is the knowledge-based solution basically. And its key principles are, again, as few of them principles already, mashallah, people have told it, and good to hear that you are thinking on those domains already. And so that is, and that's one of the reason behind that, as the Khurram also said, okay, as compared, we talk about our subcontinent mindset, and as compared when you're here and you already have a lot of different communities, so and these minority people normally gets connected, so they come up with a very different approach of dealing different things. So alhamdulillah, since you people are facing these challenges, so you know the importance of these things as well. So, but one of the thing is empathetic listening. Be a good listener. You need to be a good listener first. Listen to the kids. Listen to them what they are saying, right? Engagement versus refutement. Don't refute. Engage them. Don't refute their answers. Engage their questions. Don't simply refute them, right?
A practical example for this one, engaging rather than refuting.
Yeah. For example, I can give you one example of my own kid. And alhamdulillah, after these sessions that I took, it really helped me to apply that. One day, my small kid, he was just at that time, he was like 4 or 5 years old. He threw this, Nurani Qaida in Pakistani, we have the Alif, Ba, Ta, Sa, before the Quran. He threw that, right? And then, as a normal, as I got, oh, what are you doing? What have you done? Astaghfirullah. Keep it, kiss it. Right? And I literally went to that domain, and automatically I cleared, oh, no, I've heard about this thing. Let's engage him. Then I asked him, okay, beta, what happened? Why did you do that? Then he said, this is not Quran, Baba. I said, who shows you this is not Quran? Then he said, at that time my wife was actually taking the hadith class. She was teaching online. So she has a book in front of her of tafsir. And he observed her that she is reading Quran and telling her from that book. And he said, Baba, this is Quran, this is not Quran. And then I got the idea, oh, this was the main problem behind. And then I said, no, beta, this is also a Quran. No, Baba, it's not a Quran. I said, okay, why? Why it's not a Quran? He said that Mama used that book. I said, okay, let's bring that book. So we opened it. And alhamdulillah, at that time it was the 30th para. And he had Abasa and these few words of that. And then he has studied that in that Nurani Qaida as well. I said, see this, can you match this? The same word and the same word. And then for a time he said, yeah, but still, where is Alif, where is Ba, where is Ta? Right? Then I showed him, okay, what is this in Abasa? What is this? He said, Ain. And then what is this? Seen. How do you know this, that this will become Abasa? Then he told me, oh Baba, Takhti number 1, I saw this Alif, Ba and Ain. And then he took that Quran Qaida and he kissed him and he put it on the table. Himself. Right? But initially I was about to go to that level. Almost did that. But if I would have done that and forced him to kiss and open and put, he might have done because I said so in that manner. But initially he would not have that level of understanding and that qadar on his own. Like it happens to us as well. Like we have been told this way only, just put it on top, nothing else. Keep it on top. Right? So, and we never question this thing. So we have other things as well. Many examples can come up here. Again, as sister said, question-oriented approach. Allow them to question. Make an environment where they can ask questions. Even now it's not only like your parent at home. As a teacher, when students are asking questions, sometimes as a teacher, we say, oh, I don't have time for your question. I have a syllabus to cover. My manager will ask me for this. Forget about your question. I don't have that much time. Yes, I understand. As a teacher, I don't want a teacher mode on that. No, students sometimes do this. They ask silly questions. Yes, they do ask. Again, then you have to see that how you need to engage and see that my course also covered and you can answer. Because as a teacher, you're not only telling them science and maths only. You have one of the responsibility to make them a good human as well, a good Muslim as well. So keep that perspective in mind as well. So if that sort of a question comes in and you've engaged him to some extent, that's valuable. Even I have seen myself that helped me even teaching maths and science later on as well. Because now that kid is aligned with me as a teacher. Now he's listening me in the maths as well. Otherwise he's kept on bringing this thing during the lectures. And I've seen many teachers go to this way, oh, he's asking such questions. And then again we judge them very. When you sit in the staff room, we say, he's very much bad kid. He's a bad kid. He's asking such questions. Right? So as a teacher as well, we need to understand this. This is the most important. Enabling to find the right answers from the right source. And again with the right methodology. There's a whole module of it, when we go into the details of how to do that, how to formulate the questions, and the activity I will give you some, there's an activity you will be doing it as well. So transforming hearing into listening, I'll quickly just rush through this thing because we have discussed all of this already. Enabling to listen to oneself and other, and empathetic listening is basically all about bond development. Once you develop that bond and you have made your kid, you have made yourself valuable for that kid, he will listen you. And we've seen that. Many of the time parent comes to a teacher that he listens you, miss. He listens you, sir. Please do talk to him. Why? Because there is a bond between these two, which is not present there at home. Right? Why? That initially that had to be the prime one. We came afterward. Right? So the bond development helps basically, and that exhausted person that came, he kept coming for 2 years. Right? He's still agnostic. He didn't accept Islam in that perspective, but he at least acknowledges that, okay, I believe there's a God, but still I'm uncertain. At least to that level he came. And then when he went away, he said to Atif Rama Sahab, you are the first scholar to whom I get connected with. And he did not answer his questions for at least more than 2 months. And he kept on coming. If answers were important, he would have given answers from the day one. He came with 62 questions. 62 questions. And at the end he says, okay, just tell me about these 5, the rest are fine. From 62 to 5. That's how powerful that fourth, principle is. Guiding towards the right. Then he said, okay, this 5 I can answer. Right? And he started praying as well. And he told that out of this bond I am praying right now. I'm not sure about this praying thing, but now I got connected with you, and when you all pray, I feel something inside me. So I pray. And he also acknowledged that you also bring a very good pizza. Right? That food. Engagement versus refutement. What happens actually when you have the mindset of engaging, you actually have the compassion and empathy for them. But if you have the mindset of refutation, it's more of opposing, winning an argument. See, the way I have given the argument, he couldn't speak a word in front of me. I made him quiet. And for the other side, see, I asked this scholar a question and he couldn't answer. And we are very proud of it. So engagement is to convince, whereas refutement is to make the other person silent. To win heart, and that is to win argument, right? So, Coach, forgive me, I just need to use one word over here in Urdu. There is normally one of our scholars used to say in debates that, okay, I have this debate in my madrasa that why you offer summer courses with this word radde kainat, radde this, radde that, radde ilhad, right? So why don't you have these wording that ilaje ilhad, ilaje something? It gives you a whole different feeling. Because when you have the title called how to refute the atheism, then your argument becomes in the same way. Your mindset, your approach, the way you're going to speak in front of the public, it's going to change completely. Right? So question-oriented approach, encourage participants to ask their own question, enable them to analyze and formulate the right question. Do not attempt to answer their question. As sister said one thing, this thing basically what you said, to give someone a fish, you feed him for a day. But teach someone to fish, you feed him for the lifetime. You answer 1 question, 2 questions, 10 questions. How many questions you're going to answer? That one answer then might lead to 10 other questions and doubts. And there might come a point when you are stuck. You don't have answers for that. Because we also did not go through that process because our concepts are sometimes not that strong. Right? So rather than doing that, you teach them how to find the answers, how to formulate the right question, then identify the right sources and the right methodology to find those answers. Right? What is now this is some glimpse of the actual module, not a complete version. There's a whole module in ESM about the right question, but just to give a hint of it, what is the right question to understand, at least at this initial level, if you start processing when you go home and start reflecting about it. And This age of AI has made this become very easy for us to understand this part now. Really. These people, the West gives the philosophy of question everything. And now they are saying, don't question everything, ask the right question, please. The whole field of prompt engineering. You simply, even the ChatGPT says, when you put anything, give me lesson plan. Is it a right question? Tell me specifically a lesson plan of which subject, which chapter, what is the way you prompt, that the output depends on that. The way you prompt it. And then you again refine and train. And after 10s and 20, spending this much good amount of time, then you get some version of what you really want. Right? So that's what it is, that asking the right question, not asking the question is important. Asking the right question is important. But that does not mean that you snub the questions as well. You guide them toward this level. So what is the right question? Effectively generated, it is improved, well prioritized, right? For example, how to fasten a lesson is a question. How to drive a car is also a question, right? But at that situation, what is the priority, right? So that you need to figure out. It has to be well prioritized, effectively generated. And this is not from us. This is an institute called RQI. I guess it's American, I think so. They have a whole framework of it. They do trainings of it. It's very highly paid courses they do just for how to formulate the right question. Look at that. Immense amount of the money and time is spending just to form how to find a. You can do the research and find about this RQI. Hopefully, inshallah, you will find it. So, asked to achieve a specific learning or inquiry goal. Questions are more important than answers. Yes, this is important thing. Questions are more important than answers. So, the prompt engineering is telling us now, but the Prophet ﷺ has already told that a good question is half knowledge, right? So but I know based on my Mufsir can correct me. Okay, there is one hadith as well about asking the question, and then also this hadith of good question is half knowledge. So that sort of filters as well but what does our secular worldview? Just question everything, and you also take up that thing. Yes, question everything, but then there is what type of questions, right? So we need to make our kids, even now, for example, as a trainer, mashallah, you can get in the part of training, you will now, after this whole module, you will understand, and you can work out with your kids. If the questions comes to you by your child, you can, rather than straight away jumping in the answers, you work out in this way. Okay, but let's say, why are you asking this question? What happens? Try to come to that level where that question is really specific and also removing certain assumptions. But you as a parent understands, because we have discussed the causes, you can reach to that level from where this question is coming. What could be the possible cause? So you brought to that level, and then you try to filter and prompt engineer their questions, and then maybe you can answer them, right? To ask the right question, and mashallah, the philosophers are also saying the same thing. To ask the right question is already half the solution of the problem. Right sources and right answers. Right answers can now only be obtained from the right sources. So we need to understand about that as well, about the sources as an educator, as a parent. Enable to match the right question with the right source. So wrong answers or no answers can lead to undesirable results. So before I said that answers are not important, now it's why answers are important. That's sort of a U-turn. But again, so that as an example, sometime in hurry we give some answer just to save of giving an answer, and with the fear as well. If I don't give an answer, he might think that Baba doesn't know or teacher doesn't know, and we somehow give something or throw something on it. That's dangerous, right? So the wrong answers or no answers can lead to undesirable. Complete silence is also not required. Oh, sir said in the training, do not answer. And the students start asking the question, you say, no, sir said do not answer. You remain quiet. No, this is not the thing that you remain quiet. You may take up the time. You take the time of that whole process. As I say, you can say, okay, better we'll discuss it at night. Keep that question. It's a very important question. Right? But keep that at night or Sundays, inshallah. When I come back, I'll discuss with you. Just to give you an analogy. So what are the two steps critically in our exploration? What did you do at first when you have to, do this thing? What is the first step? Finding the source of the oil. It's written, right? Why are you worried? Okay, so you find where the oil is, right? And once you find it, then what? You dig. So you bring an axe or a Caesar and start digging. Is that so? Yeah. So we are digging. We have to dig. So give me the Caesar. I have to dig. Or give me an axe. I have to dig. You need a right tool to dig that as well, right? The second step is extracting the oil, basically. So similarly, in finding the answer, first step is to find the source of the answer, the right source, where I can get that answer from. And then second step, getting or extracting the answers from that source with the right method, right? As I was studying from one of the book of one of the scholar, and it says that what you say has to be right, and the way you say, that also has to be right, and at the moment or the situation you say, that also has to be right. Right? For example, there's some fight going on, and I say, okay, beta, and I come and say, what will you have in dinner? What did I say wrong? It's a dinner time. Ask her, oh, there's fight going on and you are worried about dinner? And I come and say, Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. What did I say wrong? I say Assalam. But the way I said is different, right? So answers are important, but there are some things which are more important than mere answers. Sources of answers, methodology of getting the answers, right? Okay, this is very few quickly. If I ask you, what are the sources of answers? From where we have to look at? Quickly. Google, fine, or books, Chat GPT, okay. Ask somebody you know. Experts, Quran, Hadith, elders. Okay, again, so I know usually spend 5 to 10 minutes over here to make things clear, but since we have less time, what are you all saying? Are these sources? If you are saying asking an elder, is elder a source?
Could be. A doctor is a source, right? You have a
Yeah, but what is that 5D approach as well, through and because one? No, if doctor is telling you something, how does doctor know about that thing?
No, but in the context of going to the source and ask a question, we don't encourage people to go and open the medical books and
Yeah, but right now,
doctor, right?
yeah, but we do that. That's fine. But again, this is again going to expert. But right now, we are just trying to draw a line between source and there's another word which I don't want to bring right now. So there's source and channel. Source and channel. Doctor is a channel through which we are discussing about his source and his all those things. Chat GPT, Google, Mentor, elders. There are all channels of getting something maybe from the source from where they have studied and they have studied. Because someone have definitely, experts are there who has gone through, even that expert, if we don't go directly to the books, but that expert has definitely gone through some source, right? So Chat GPT, Google, YouTube, that's all you said, Facebook, Wikipedia, magazine, journals, we can all, friends, teachers, mentors, elders, you can all put it in over here. So if these are, because I've actually already told what is coming next, so these are all channels, by the way, right? These are all channels. So then what could be the sources?
Revealed and acquired knowledge.
Revealed books, right? In terms of religion, for us, Quran, for Christians, Bible, from Hindus, they have their own books, right? What else?
Acquired knowledge.
Yeah, that knowledge is coming from some field, right? Some source. I mean, not prevalent source we are talking about. Like for example, science is a whole field, right? You can have then different versions of it. Logic is a discipline, proper source of discipline. You have courses, you have degrees on it. right? Philosophy, history, religion, right? So these are the sources of knowledge from where, then they have their branches and everything people are taking through. And you can say, we will see that you prove it through science, prove it logically. ठीक है, तो philosophy भी एक पूरी field है, it's a complete discipline, right? Philosophy, science is a complete discipline. History, logic, there are discipline, and then from these disciplines, now we have many branches that is coming up. Even the AI is basically, if you backtrack, it's science, and even the science and logic, if you backtrack, was a philosophy, right? So if you go way back, then it emerges, and now you can, as a prevalently, you can see the science and logic as a individual fields of knowledge source as well. Yeah, for example, if I am finding something from ChatGPT, or I'm searching the Google, and that from that Google I direct it to a website. That website has some content in it, right? And that content is developed by some expert, right? And that expert have learned those things, that information from these fields. He might be a doctor, he has read tons of books on biology and doctrine and everything, because these have emerged as the knowledge sources, prevalent knowledge sources. Because, for example, if I'm not a doctor and I read an article, I wrote an article on headache and sugar and diabetes, can you believe on that? We said no, but it's not written by a doctor who does not have a degree. And who is awarding a degree? A certain field. A certain field is awarding me a degree, that he has a degree in this XYZ field. And these are in the broader contexts. Yeah, discipline that we are talking about is the source in that. And in religion, if you talk about, then you have Quran for the Muslims, Quran and Hadith and fiqh, all these are for the Muslims, and Bible and all these things for the Christians and other sources, right? So you can see the well has the water actually. This bucket is the channel to bring that water. So you cannot say the bucket is the source. Bucket is not the source. It's the channel to bring that water from the well, right? And when you do the ESM in detail, then we go through all these sources from their discipline, not my perspective, not your perspective, not prevalent perspective, what these sources says about themselves in their books. When we talk about science, what is the scope of science? When science says that whenever I do some claim, whenever I say something, this is the baseline, this is the framework I talk about through, right? And then when you talk about logic, when you say something logically is not proven, what is logic? What is the scope of logic? What does the theory, the discipline of the logic says about itself? What are their rules and principles? We talk to the principle levels only, right? Not the diluted version that we have right now. We go to their books, their experts, and then talk about, and this is not the reason that I'm going to teach you logic. I'm not a logic expert. I'm not a science expert. I'm not a philosophy expert. I'm not a scholar to teach you religion. But the whole thing is that we talk about, okay, you have to, if you bring it together, you need to understand the cause. Once you understand the cause, you need to develop the right question, and then you have to link that right question to the right source. So at least at the bare minimum level, you need to understand that how these sources are working and how the knowledge is extracted from that source. What is their framework of extracting the knowledge? And then you can link. And sometimes, and even to understand the cause of the problem, you really need to understand about few of something about their domain. So that at least you figure it out, okay, for this kid I have to talk about science. I cannot talk religion directly, because the cause is coming from this side, or this side, or this side, right? And then what type of questions can link to what type of source? For everything I cannot bring science. Or for everything I cannot bring religion. So for that purpose, the whole module takes you through these sources, the very core of it only. And very interesting way. Even you can see when we did this in even Madaris, they also understood this whole science, logic, and philosophy when they have never went to university. So this is made very in very interactive and very simpler way, right? So you go through all these modules one by one, and there are activities that will going to help you to do what actually we really want to do, how we can do all things that we are talking about right now. So we'll never get the right answer if we are looking at the wrong place. So technically, this engaging skeptical mind, right? I have this is a 6-week course we've written, but technically it's a bit more than that. But if you can stretch, we can do that in 6 weeks as well, right? So and what I'm doing in the 6 weeks actually, again these are the modules: the right question, how to formulate a right question, what is the right question. I showed one slide to you, the RQI model, and then there are activities, and you simply filter it out, you help it out at how you can see that whether it's a right question or not, and then linking with the right source. So you have module for that, and then you have individual modules on each of these sources, right? And then we have a module that is the causes, and the few slides that I showed you, that was from that cause slides, but they are not all. There are a lot of things in between. The solution was not even discussed over here as such. There's a whole process of it right over there. So causes and solution, that's how we end the ESM modules phase 1. In this phase 1, we are not talking about anything. Even when you talk about the religion, we talk about religion as a source, not Islam, right? Since this is the TOT module, so that's why we normally tell people what they need to expect. But we don't tell this when you do it with the students. Even we do this with students as well. And that module name is called ECM, Engaging Curious Mind. We don't say you're skeptical. You're curious. You're asking a question. You have every right to ask the question, right? Then we do the same modules, and the reason and the approach of doing these things with students is that they also we let them enable to do the same thing when so many things are coming. When social media, a lot of things are coming, and a student who is well equipped with this thing, at least he cannot become get so much attracted with some random post that went in front of his eyes. He can question that. He can see what is it coming from the right source, or if some questions comes up in his mind, he has that ability to look at them different sources, that whether they are coming from here or not, and how these sources are answering it. This person X is saying on the media this is scientifically wrong. How it's wrong, but does it really? Let me see. Let me do the research. Let me check it out. Right? And of course, you are there to help him. You understand all these things, but you have enabled him to go through that whole process of understanding. So this is called mostly enabling them as well. But first, we also need to make us enable, right? So that's why it has 2 versions. And then the phase 2 and this phase 3 of this, then we try to bring it towards the religious part of it, the Islamic part of it. That's in the phase 2. And even in the phase 2, we talk about why Islam is true. The phase 2 of ESM is why Islam is true. So that again comes through that perspective. And in the third phase, okay, I agree Islam is true, then which Islam is true? That's another thing's coming up. So then we talk about the processes, that how the hadith was compiled, how the fiqh was compiled, and all those things, that the real rich knowledge of our religion that has come to us by this time. So we take through that perspective to them. So that's a whole perspective going on in long term. But this is what we are really about. And just to make sure about the credibility decided, this is the overall major core team who was involved in all these things. So you can see the blend of scholars and the field experts. Like for example, my name is here. I'm not a scholar. I have been the student of engineering. I've been into universities and youth. So I bring that flavor into this. Take the same with Zuhair Bahrain. He's an educationist. He has done his MPhil in ALM. So he brings that educational part from there in, and he's also studying like part-time as well. You can bring the Mufti Adif Karama Sahib himself. He's an MS Computer Science from Columbia. He's even worked in Microsoft as well. Right, so he's coming from that background as well. And now he has the other flavor of being Mufti as well. And then we have pure ulamas in the team as well. Right, they are pure ulamas, never went to school, never went to universities, but they have dealt a lot of people. And we have a lot of exposure to the real world. Right. So we have people, alhamdulillah, and there are other subject experts as well. These are the main prominent permanent members, but then other people are there. For example, if sister said that I'm good in history, you can always work with us in the history module, science module, or you can always bring your flavors into it, and this keeps on improving, right? So this is what actually is all about. So we ended in dua that Rabbi Zidni Allah increase us in the knowledge and in our understanding. And Rabbana hab lana min azwajina wa dhurriyyatina qurrata a'yun waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. And definitely, if we as a parent, we need to make this dua, Lord, that first of all make us the imam of our kids and make them the muttaqi. Because when I'm saying that make me the imam of muttaqin, and I want to be a imam, so that means I'm also saying that make my kids muttaqin as well, right? So may Allah Ta'ala bless us with a right understanding of things and help us inshallah about